I saw you tweet out that koalas can sleep 22 hours a day. Is that why you chose a koala bear skull for sloth?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that if people started to name the 7 deadly sins, they'd forget sloth. One of the interesting aspects is that it can be interpreted in a very capitalistic way. Laziness and failure to be industrious and hard-working are the bane of the capitalist economic market. Imagine a world where humans slept 22 out of every 24 hours. We think of koala bears as cute, furry, funky little wild animals that we can pick up and hold even if they're wild. That's not the truth, of course, and that's why the koala fits so well into sloth. We pretend to know the truth about sloth, but we don't.
What do you mean?
I interpret sloth to represent a spiritual laziness, not an economic one. How many people spend hours a day praying or reciting spiritual incantations? Unless your economic place resides within a spiritual one, unless someone is paying you to pray, then it probably isn't happening. We don't put any emphasis on it. You can try to buy enlightenment and spirituality, but we all know it doesn't work. And the funny thing is, we keep trying. We know the work of prayer is important, but at some level we don't care. We certainly don't care enough to pray regularly.
Some people do.
Yes, certainly, I'm talking generalities here. In terms of sin, spiritual sloth is forgivable for a lot of people. They forgive themselves and friends and family for not being spiritually hard-working, for letting it slide. That's why there is a division between the skull and the land. The land is a metaphor for humans, and the sloth is above that, not because it's not a human sin, but because we are so quick to forgive spiritual sloth. In fact, if you're really prayerful and spiritual, you stand out in society. You can be ostracized, and people will think you're funny or crazy or worse. In this painting, the sky is clouding over, and you can see a hint of a storm in the upper right corner when viewing it. The darkening sky represents the potential for being ostracized, for being considered off the mark. I remember years ago speaking to some women who were totally okay with me coming out as a lesbian, but coming out as a pagan was completely different. Totally rational people suddenly wondered if I was killing babies and worshipping evil deities. There's a huge social pressure not to be spiritual, and you're suspect if you're actively spiritual. We encourage spiritual sloth as a society, and we reward it. I think people who are willing to traverse the path...
As represented by the footpaths in the mountains.
Yes, exactly. If you're willing to climb the spiritual mountain, to exert yourself, to work for your soul, you can reach heaven, whatever your heaven might be. But you also have to recognize that there's a potential for a storm, that the stories you have to tell may be about struggle, hard work, and diligence.